Hi everyone, Christina here. Welcome to another card video at my YouTube channel and blog. Today I'm going to be using the Orange You Sweet stamp set from Concord and Ninth, and I really loved the stamp set. There's lots of citrus fruits in it, but today I'm going to focus on the kiwi because I love that greeting on there that says Kiwi Hang Out Soon. I thought it was so cute. So for a heart die, I'm actually going to use this Thank You Heart die set from Simon Says Stamp because I love the shape of this heart and it's the perfectly sized heart for a card. So I'm going to use some masking paper and I'm going to die cut that heart out of the center of it so that I can stamp on the inside of the heart shape. So I've run that through my Big Shot machine and I'm going to use just the outer area around the heart. Going to score my card base now. I'm using some Neenah Solar White cardstock in 110 pounds, and I'm scoring that using my Score Buddy as well as the bone folder that comes with the Score Buddy. And I scored that at 5.5 to create a top folding card. Then taking that heart mask and peeling off the backing release paper and then placing that over the front of the card. This is going to protect all of the areas around that heart shape so that as I stamp, I'm going to have just very clean white cardstock that creates that heart shape. And it wasn't the perfectly sized mask, so I did have to add some Post-it tape over there on the side. I'm using two different colors of Memento Luxe ink. I'm using Pear Tart and Olive Green, and this is a pigment ink, so the ink really sits up on the surface of the stamp, and it doesn't dry quite as quickly as dye ink either. And I'm using this pigment ink in particular because I'm going to do this rock and roll technique where I roll the stamp and only ink up the outer edges. I just find this is a little bit easier to do with pigment inks. You can do it with dye inks, and I've seen it done and I've done it myself, but I just really love the look of these pigment inks when I do that. I'll link up to another video where I've used the same inks with the same technique. I'll link that up in the top corner. It's a really fun birthday card. In fact, I loved that card so much, I think I made it about 20 more times so that I could send it to my friends throughout the year. So I'm inking up another one of these, and I once again did that whole surface in Pear Tart, and then I'm rocking and rolling that onto the olive green color. Now the reason I'm doing it in this particular order and making sure that I'm only doing that rock and roll in the darker ink is because I know that I can clean up that ink pad and I won't have any of that leftover ink. Okay, so here we go. Here's this third one. And you'll notice that I've got that streak of the darker color right there. I think it was just what was left over from the previous stamping. So in order to fix that, I just dabbed my finger onto that Pear Tart ink pad and then dabbed it onto my stamped circle. And that really cleans it up, and you could hardly tell that there was a little mistake there. So I kept stamping, and then I realized that these two circles at the top are going to go over that fold. So I put some more Post-it tape down to protect the back of the card and then stamped those circles. So because I want to make sure that this heart shape definitely reads like a heart, and there were still some gaps in between the circles, I decided to take a mini round blending tool and just blend in a little bit of that Pear Tart ink just in those gaps so that it would fill in any of those areas and make sure that it still reads as a heart and not just like some random shape. So I just inked those on just a little bit. And then I took some Tuxedo Black Memento Luxe ink, and I'm taking the outer circle stamp and then the inner kiwi stamp. You can put these together, or if you don't put that center in it, you can have it be just the outer ring of a lemon or an orange or something like that. So I think the stamp set's put together really brilliantly because you can use it with that center for a kiwi or without, or use those center wedge images you can see over on the side if you want it to be a lemon or an orange. I think it's kind of really smart the way they've done this. So I took that Tuxedo Black ink and stamped over each one of these circles. And I love that it's kind of like an not a perfect circle. It's a little more sketchy. I think it goes well with the type of rock and roll stamping that I've done today. So I stamped all the black, and then it was time to peel off the mask. And this, I've said in the past and I've heard others say it's like Christmas morning. Coming downstairs, seeing what gifts Santa's brought you, it's a surprise and you don't know. I think it's so satisfying to pull that masking paper off. So now I have that perfect heart shape. You might notice there's a little smudge, excuse me, of ink just over there on the side. So I'm using a sanding eraser from Tombow, and I'm just sanding that off the surface of the card, and it just takes away the ink and you can hardly tell anything happened. So now I'm taking some Licorice Twist cardstock. This is black cardstock from Basil, and I've prepped that with an anti-static powder tool and then stamping my greeting in Versamark ink. So this is the order of things I like to use for heat embossing. I first do the anti-static powder, I stamp in Versamark, and then put the embossing powder on top. And using that anti-static powder tool just makes it so the powder doesn't stick to areas where you don't want it to. So I ended up stamping and embossing this twice because I think I pressed on the stamp a little bit too much that first time, and it made the letters look a little bit thicker than they actually are. So I'm a little bit picky about things like that, so I decided to stamp it one more time and then heat emboss it. So the heat embossing powder that I'm using today is from Hero Arts. This is their white embossing powder. I've used this embossing powder for years. I love how detailed it is. So if you're looking for a really good white embossing powder, you'll want to check that out. I'll have all of my supplies that I've used today and all my tools linked down below in the video description or in the supplies section at my blog. So I trimmed out this little greeting area with my trimmer and also with my scissors, and then I put some strips of foam tape on the back. And I kind of placed it on the card and it didn't look quite straight, so I ended up using a T-square ruler to help me get that on there perfectly straight. So that is the finished card for today. It's a really simple and clean card, but there is some technique in there with the stamping and also the masking. Hope you guys enjoyed. I will be back very soon with another card video, and thanks for watching.